In Texas, there's been increased attention on this topic of drunk driving. My guest today is Houston attorney Terry Bryant, and we're going to talk with him today about this subject. Terry, how you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Well, Terry, last year you were a guest on Great Day Houston, and you spoke about this topic of drunk driving. And also on that program was Laura Dean Mooney, who is president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Tell me a little bit about that organization, how they're making a difference, and what you see as in terms of their positive impact.
You know, they work on this problem all day, every day. They are lobbying for support to have ignition interlocks put in the vehicles of all convicted DWI offenders. This is a sophisticated device that can actually prevent a vehicle from being driven by a drunk driver. Mothers Against Drunk Driving has also done a terrific job of creating awareness of the seriousness of drunk driving. For instance, on their website, they point out that first-time offenders have driven drunk an average of 87 times before they are convicted.
That is really unbelievable. Well, Terry, what's going on in Texas? Because you told me there's some, as you said, increased attention in Texas on this topic.
Well, in some cities, we're having what's called a no refusal weekend, which means that if a person is suspected of driving drunk, the law enforcement authorities will go to a judge and get a search warrant to allow taking of blood to see if the person meets the threshold for driving drunk. So if the person refuses a breathalyzer, his or her blood can actually be taken in a forcible way.
And did you say that's already started or it's about to start?
That has started, and it's done at varying times throughout the year.
Okay, very interesting. Well, Terry, you have a great public service announcement on drunk driving that really tugs at the heart, and I'd like to play that right now.
I got a call from the coroner, and he said, "I regret to tell you that your daughter has been killed in an automobile crash." We lost Renee in 1987. She was killed during spring break. She was hit head-on by an underage drinker. 4 years after Renee was killed, this happened to Leslie. I got a call from one of Leslie's friends, and she told me that Leslie had been struck and hit by a car that had veered into the crowd of kids. We buried Leslie right next to Renee. That was tough. That was tough. I just remember pounding my fist on the counter and saying, "This can't be happening again. This just cannot be happening again."
If a drunk driver has hurt you or someone you love, it's not an accident. It's a crime.
Wow, and is this an actual family?
Yes, it is. She lost 2 daughters to drunk drivers.
That's unbelievable. As we've talked before, you know that my family was changed forever by a drunk driver as well. My father was killed back in 1977 when a drunk driver hit him, and someone tried to pull him from the car, but he was pinned and the car caught on fire. Before they were able to get him out, the car blew up and my father was killed. These are not pretty stories. And yet I have to tell you that the person that killed my father had actually been convicted of killing a pedestrian while driving drunk 2 years earlier, never even lost his license. And for us, what happened is the insurance company did nothing more than make a phone call to us and say, "Gee, I'm sorry, it's, just so sad."
Cindy, the insurance companies are in business to make sure you get as little as possible. Their raises and promotions are based on how little they pay out to people that are making claims. And that's why hiring a lawyer in a drunk driving case is really a necessity. The average layperson is just no match for these insurance companies and their lawyers.
Well, Terry, what do you find is the biggest challenges in drunk driving cases?
The biggest challenge is to gather the evidence early and to make sure that we get a copy of the videotape from the authorities.
A copy of the videotape? No, I don't understand what you're saying. Are you saying that that video is taken in these situations?
Yes, oftentimes videotape is taken at the scene of the accident when the officers are doing what we call a field sobriety test, or when they take the person to the station and do an interview with the alleged drunk driver.
Very interesting and very complex. Well, Terry, what are your recommendations for someone who is a victim of a drunk driving accident?
I would recommend that they contact an attorney immediately to make sure that their legal rights are protected.
And if someone has specific questions, how can they reach you?
They can call my toll-free number at 1-800-444-5000, or find us on the web at terrybryant.com.
Very good. Well, Terry, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
This is Cindy Speaker reporting for Main Street Law.